Hi there, it's Jane Birkinshaw from Love Your Lens here. I want to talk to you now about the theme of triangles that was our theme for the month of April. And I'd like to start off by saying how impressed I was by the number of people that took part in this challenge, the number of images you posted, and the quality of those images. It wasn't an easy challenge. It was quite hard at times to grasp the concept of implied triangles, and it was much easier at times to see the literal triangles. But it was great to see both. What we were really looking for in the images was that the triangle had to be a major part of why the image was working. So whether that was a literal triangle that you could easily spot within the image, or whether it was an implied triangle, it had to be that was really making the image work. And the reason we use triangles in images is because they're one of the ways to bring a uniformity and unity to your image. They can be used to link the key subjects, and they can be used to make your eye travel around or through the images. And one of the other things they can do is imply strength or unity in your image. The triangle is a very strong and stable shape, especially when it's the right way up with its horizontal base at the bottom. When it's tipped up the other way, it can imply instability and make the image feel unstable for purposeful reasons. So without further ado, let's start going through your images. I'm really pleased that you all took part in the challenge. I didn't find it very easy, but what I did find that by the end of the month I was finding it easier to see implied triangles in scenes, and it wasn't something I'd ever considered trying to do with my composition before. And I hope that was the case for a lot of you as well. So you can see here the collage of final images that I've picked out, and I'll start talking you through them. So this first image by Janet Pope, I really like this overall anyway as a travel image. I love travel photography, the fact that you can see so much about different cultures, and particularly in this one there's a lot of bright colours, very interesting scene that we don't get to see at home. And there's some strong triangles in the shapes of their arms, and again the triangle is a strong shape, and there's strength going into carrying these urns. And there's an overall implied triangle with the parasol at the top, and the shapes of the arms making a triangle there. So really enjoyed looking at that image. Thanks, Janet. Then we have this image by Carol Bernstein, which it's an obvious triangle of the stack of stones. And this image was liked a lot by people. I really liked it. It just evokes the seaside and all the pleasures and things that we associate with that, doesn't it? And it's a nice composition. I'm personally not a fan of the over grungy editing that's been done on this, but that's a stylistic thing. But a very, very nice image. Thanks, Carol. Then we've got this image by Denise Kopak of a football stadium. This works for me on a lot of different levels. I love the wide angle nature of it, the fact that there's so much encompassed in this scene. Oops, sorry, we always have this problem, don't we? And then there's some very obvious triangles as well. There's the main one here in the sky. There's a triangle in every corner, and the pitch could be split into two triangles. So and also you could actually repost this one again as framed, Denise, because you can clearly see that the pitch and the main area of action is framed by the edges of the stadium. So it was a great spot and capture that one. Then we've got these triangles by Denise Dawson, three seed heads, structural statues in Trentham Gardens, I think. So we've got the implied, I'm going to have to stop waving my mouse around, that's what's doing it. The implied triangle of the three main flower heads, and then many of the seed heads themselves are triangular. I love the starkness and clarity and structure of this image in black and white, and the very clear sky. I love blue skies in black and white as well. I think they're very powerful at times. So that's a great image, Denise. Then we've got this one by Eric Payton. I think this is quite humorous and very clever, a really good spot. We've got the obvious triangle here, and then we've got the triangles that make up the arrow here. So very simple but very impactful. And yeah, you know, when you've got a good eye for a photograph, you'll spot things like that. And there's a slight wry sense of humour there going on as well. Now, this image by Helen, we can look at this and know that it's not quite sharp. And maybe I don't know, the exposure is okay actually. I was going to say it's underexposed, but I don't think it is, because if you look at the exposure on the top of his head there, it looks okay. But what I did like about this is you've got the implied triangle, which is a really good way of grouping people together. But it was also the fact that these people are it's the way that you're capturing the moodiness of the teenagers looking at the camera. I think there's just something very much of its moment of how teenagers are, and just something very honest about this portrait. So that's what I liked about it. I think it works really well in black and white. And when you look around, there's actually a few other triangles going on with it as well. So Helen, great kind of idea for a shot, but just work a little bit on you know, capturing the sharpness maybe, or it could just be the resolution there. And then we've got a couple of images by Jude Parkin. This is stunning, really beautiful iris, very clear implied triangular shape. The colours are fantastic, purple and orange opposite each other on the colour wheel, work extremely well. That background is such a good choice, Jude. And the detail that you've captured it's a stunning image. The way it's lit, you've obviously got quite a bright light on it, but it still works. You've not lost anything in the dark areas, and you've kept all the detail in the highlights as well. So great job there. And then another image by Jude. And I really like this. There's the literal triangle here of the chains, but then also the implied triangle. So it's got both things going on here. The implied triangle of the three orangey red wheels. So that I really liked that as an example of triangles in a photograph, and how your eye travels around the image from each of those three wheels there. Okay, then we've got this image by Karen Richards. This is great in terms of a landscape using triangles. All of the triangles, their apexes meet in the center here, which is where the kind of the focal point of the image is. It's got a lot of detail in it. It's got foreground interest, middle ground interest, background interest, and overall it's a lovely landscape and a really great example of triangles. I mean, you've got another triangle here. I mean, it's basically just really made up of triangles, isn't it? So really great for the theme, Karen. Then we've got a shot by Karen Herman Wright, and another really good example of an implied triangle where it's the colour. I mean, the coincidence of having the same shade of yellow, you know, across these three people is you know, quite weird, really, isn't it? They could have been completely different yellows, and that's what really links this together and makes a very clear implied triangle there. So really good spot, Karen. Then quite similar yellow here as well, obviously a bit of a theme going on this month. This shot is by Ray Fung. We talked about how triangles are such a strong shape, and I think this really says it, doesn't it? Such a strong, powerful shape. And I love the symmetry of the shot. Just shows, you know, there's an argument for not placing subjects off centre, for having them in the centre. And I love the fact that the harsh lines of the triangle, the strong lines of the triangle, are broken up by all these curves and patterns as well. So that's a really great spot for the theme again, Ray, and a nice framing of it as well. And then there's this shot from Simon Kirkman. I mean, Simon's photography is amazing, isn't it? Particularly when he goes into the sort of the more underbelly, underworld of wrestling, of tattoo parlors, etc. He's got a real knack for getting close to people, being able to get great pictures whilst they're kind of unaware of him, really. And the implied triangle here, of the guy, and the extremely heavy weight, the power and the strength in his face, the struggle that's going on, the muscles, the grittiness of it. It's absolutely superb, Simon. And you know, to be honest, I probably should have two winners this month, this one, and then the next image that I'm going to talk about as well. This image, which I picked as my favourite, but having looked at Simon's again, I think they're both just so strong. So this image is by Amanda, and I just love, again, the simplicity of it. I think the spot of this triangle here is fantastic, and then all the action is going on the apex of the triangle. I love the colours, how you've caught the guy, and I just thought it was a really clever submission for triangles. So that's my commentary for this month. You're already racing ahead with the theme of framed, spotting some really, really great images there. And I think the same comment applies really for me, that I don't consciously use some of these methods when I'm taking pictures, but by doing some of these challenges, it makes you think about them a lot more, and it kind of widens your repertoire and your skill base for when you're looking at how to take an image and make it go beyond a snapshot and into something that's more powerful to look at. So well done, and I can't wait to see what you submit for this month. Thanks for listening.